Good morning and a very warm pre-lockdown welcome for another episode of our Anything in Print event. My name's Simon Isaacs. I'm the National Sales Director responsible for commercial and industrial print here at Ricoh UK. We have got a slightly different format than usual for you. It's a virtual roundtable, which will be equally interesting and informative, and just mix it up a bit over the previous sessions. These events are usually hosted by Tim Carter or myself, but today we've got a very special guest for you to drive this conversation forward. And I'm pleased to be collaborating with Gareth Ward of Print Business, a very well-respected face and hat, of course, in the print industry. And we also welcome our guests, Richard, Danny, Nick, who've kindly offered their time to share their thoughts. If you've got any questions during the webcast, you can submit them through the Q&A tool, which should be somewhere in your sidebar, and we will try to answer as many of these as possible at the end. If you do need a fuller answer or we run out of time, we will send you an email. And as an on-demand version of today's session will also be sent to you after the event, there are also materials available in the session handout documents as well. So before I pass over to Gareth and we move on with the discussion, I'll just take a moment to remind you what our purpose of the Anything in Print series is. Yeah, we recognise that the way information is shared has evolved and how we communicate with our customers has changed, this event being a great example. And how we add value to these interactions is changing as well. And while we know that Anything in Print is possible today, other media are also available, and they have their strengths and weaknesses. And in turn, that means that both our purpose and the numerous ways about the way we go about these are actually different as well. And here at Ricoh, we are using our knowledge and the technology to help other organisations deal with this evolution, both in the strategic sense of their overall purpose and in the tactical sense of how we go about reaching that purpose. And in short, we've become really value focused. And to me, this focus on purpose or value means that we need to first gain a great understanding of our customers' businesses, of your customers' purpose and their needs, both today and into the future. We need to understand their marketplaces, the changes that are taking place in those marketplaces, and the progress our customers have already made on their journey. And only then can we begin to understand the dynamics of the situation and plan accordingly. So our aim is to forge a marriage between your deep knowledge of your own businesses and our understanding of how digital technology will underpin future success. And that's precisely why we've invested so much time in delivering these events. It's to keep the conversation going, to bring you insights from our broad network of experts and consultants and customers. It's to share knowledge between organisations and to really cover topics that we know matter to all of you today. Yeah, if you've already attended any of the 12 webinars, welcome back. If this is the first one, you can watch the rest on demand. I hope you enjoyed today, and I'm very much looking forward to the debate. So Gareth, with that, I'll hand over to you and let's talk about digital journeys.
Thanks very much, Simon. I'm Gareth Ward. I'm the editor of Print Business magazine, and I hope you will see that. I hope you will value that. And if you don't, drop me a note afterwards and we'll sort you out in terms of getting hold of a copy. We also have a newsletter weekly and a website, printbusiness.co.uk. Go and have a look. We've just revamped that slightly to give you a better experience, we hope. Today, we've got joined by 3 printers, different types of printer, but all on that journey to digital printing and all that journey towards probably digital first, but that's what we need to explore. My thoughts are that where digital printing has been very much supportive of conventional litho printing in the past, I suspect that now as we go forwards and in the new normal, whatever that might look like or whenever that might look like, that for most printers, litho printing will be in support of their digital printing, and digital will be the main tool that reaches their customers. But to confirm that, we've got 3 guys there, and we've got Tim to provide the wider perspective on what's happening around the nation, and also how Ricoh can help printers on that particular journey. So looking at my screen, I've got Danny on the left there. So Danny, if you'd like to start, how have you become involved in digital printing? Tell us a little bit about MAMS.
MAMS, thank you, Gareth. MAMS, or Mailing and Marketing Solutions, is essentially a print wrapping business. We have a small amount of enveloping capability, but essentially we're into print wrap. We have two sides to the business, really. One is in publications, be that for subscription, so individualized publications, or others that are just wrapped for general distribution, supermarket shelving, that type of thing. The other side of the business is direct mail, and again, in wrapping, basically what we're doing is two different things with digital printing. So on the magazine wrapping side, it's an ecological argument, if you like. You know, Greta Thunberg came along, told us all to stop being cruel to the turtles. So that's what we're doing. We're cutting out the polyethylene, making sure that it's getting into the sea anymore from the publications that we issue, and taking the advantage and the opportunity of digital print in doing that to bring advertising or key messages to the front wrapper of the magazine and its content within there. Similarly, in direct mail, you know, are we replacing envelopes? To a degree, you know, the envelope will still exist because it has its purpose in certain sectors. For us, though, in other sectors, we are replacing those more bespoke envelopes. So where customers have had long lead times for bespoke envelopes because we want to get a message out there, but all of those envelopes are the same. We're doing exactly the same thing. We're limiting the lead time, individualizing the message on the envelope to the recipient or to the household or the address, but also the imagery that's on there too, and making that fully dynamic. So that's kind of our business. Sorry, long sentence for a short question, Gareth.
No, don't worry. So that leads nicely into Richard, because I guess you use a few envelopes.
Yeah, just a few. About, I think this year, 9 million envelopes, and that's without putting the extra envelope in for when people buy a card and have it sent back to themselves. So yeah, I'm Richard Pepper. I'm the founder and managing director at Funky Pigeon. When we originally started the business, we sold stuff to consumers, and we had an external printer print for us. Realizing that we needed to get control of that part of the business, we bought a couple of print machines in the early days, and this is pre-Funky Pigeon, so we actually had it in a different brand in those days, going back to about 2005. So I really print for consumers. I sell stuff to consumers, and every one of those 9 million pieces of print that we do are individual. So whether that's a greeting card, which obviously we sell the most of, or whether it's a calendar, whether it's a photo book, a t-shirt, or anything else actually that you can buy from us, it's all done uniquely for that individual. The cards, we collate them, so if you buy multiple cards, we collate them and send them all out. If you buy anything other than a card, which is personalized, we don't send it with the card because it's too difficult to find it within the volumes that we do. But we do sell non-personalized gifts as well, so you can buy a card and you can have it sent with a non-personalized gift. That's easy to tie up. But yeah, it's been a fantastic journey, and we moved over to Rico, but I think now probably about 3 years ago, and it's speeded our business up. I think it's better print quality. I mean, Simon's going to love to hear that one. And yes, it's full steam ahead for us at the moment.
But your business could not exist without digital printing.
Absolutely not. No.
And while you don't have litho, or have never had litho, you are challenging the conventional way of producing greetings cards, the hallmark type way of mass production of business cards, Christmas cards too.
Yeah, greeting cards. Yeah, about 10% of the greeting card market is now online. It's a £1.6 billion market. So we've still got loads to go at. And actually, we started only with personalised print, but we're now starting to look at high street cards as well. So whilst you can't personalise the front of the high street card, you can personalise the inside of it, or you can simply have it sent back to yourself, and you can, write it out yourself at home.
Yeah. But Nick, you've been on that technology journey right from Caxton.
Yeah, pretty much. Family business based in East London. So, and I'm third generation, and yeah, we've still got one of our original letterpress machines sitting downstairs that we cut and crease on and do different stuff on. So yeah, my digital journey. I was thinking last night. I actually read the questions for the seminar today last night, and
Well done.
I suppose we bought our first. That word none of you want to hear was we bought our first Indigo, probably late 90s, I suppose. And the journey started then with digital for us, and changed it probably midway through the 2000s, and then went down the Ricoh route really, and that's a lot of our work now is done on our digital presses as opposed to our litho presses, although I can hear my litho press running below me today, but it hasn't done a lot of that over the last few months. But digital is the way forward. One of the best things that we're now doing is using our presses for the white and the different colours and things, and those extra bits through this lockdown time has given us been able to get a little bit of added value, but also do some different stuff and help people out and do things quickly and those odd things. So yeah, the Ricoh has helped us as a business, not only with the support from the people, but also the machines, as Richard just said. Quality wise, it's chalk and cheese. Most people don't know how a job is printed nowadays. All machines across the board, whether it be a Ricoh or a whoever, most machines now are up to standard, and as long as the operators and the people keep them running properly, they print great stuff.
So, your requirements on investment are quality, cost effectiveness, and meeting customer demand.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I made a note. Cost of ownership, click cost, ease of operation, service. They're all the things that we look for, and they're the things that we get at the moment from Ricoh. And we're, even through the time when I know they haven't got as many engineers out there, we still manage to get our service and the machines working as we want. Ours maybe aren't doing quite the clicks that Richard's doing at the moment, but they still need looking after, and that's still been done. So yeah, both presses are ready to run as and when we need them.
Tim, is the experience of these guys typical? Is that what you're seeing around the country?
Yeah, I think it is. And given we've got a very broad cross section of businesses that represent commercial print, I think it is very indicative of what's happening in the marketplace today. I think what I hear from our panelists, plus talking to many other customers, is that those organisations with a solid online presence are the ones that I wouldn't say are immune from COVID, but are the ones that have been successful as a result of or in spite of COVID. And some businesses and organisations, Richard's being a great example, have actually thrived through COVID as behaviour changes and as consumers move more to an online alternative to actually going to the high street. So yeah, I think what the feedback that we've heard from all three guys is pretty indicative of what's happening in the marketplace today. I think from the commercial side, what Nick has said is pretty indicative of organisations of his size and profile. But I think Danny's business model is very, very different, and he's very much innovating and changing the way that his application has been produced historically. It means that he's forging new markets and growing on the back of that innovation. So it's great that we have a selection of customers with different models, all experiencing different things. But I think pretty much indicative of what we're being told from the greater market, from the bigger market.
Go back to Nick. You were saying earlier before we kicked off officially that online is becoming something that you've focused a little bit on during the last few months.
Yeah, but bizarrely, we'd worked on we've got a web to print platform already with Infigo software Catfish that we use for our B2B customers, and we'd started building it before COVID, but had sort of forgotten it, was trying to do too much with it, trying to get everything in there, and re-looked at it at the beginning of COVID and said, look, let's just get a few things on here. Let's get some calendars on here, some greetings cards. Yes, there's business cards and letter headings, but no one's really doing much with things like that. But we've got a few things on there now, and hopefully it's not going to take over the world, but it's there and it's an offering. We've got a nice thing with a local artist that I know, and she's a big Instagrammer, so has got a lot of followers. So hopefully, her selling her calendar on it at Christmas will drive people to the site, and they might do some calendars. It's going to be a really interesting journey and see where it takes us, because we've got the machinery, we've got all the stuff to do it. You know, we can't bind quite as many calendars an hour as Richard can, but you know, ultimately, everybody has to start somewhere. And we thought, well, let's give it a go. We've got the platform, we build the site ourselves, so we're not having to pay Infigo to do it. So yeah, the guys here have done really well, and we're quite, you know, it's small, but hopefully it's gonna, you know, it'll work, and it's an interesting journey as well. Just gives us something to do, gives us a focus. And at the moment, staff are, you know, everybody's a little bit worried what's going to happen, and this has given a few of the guys a nice focus and kept them busy when I need them in, because there might be some work to do, but then there's been days that maybe there isn't enough. They've been able to focus and keep themselves busy doing this, which is I think quite important at the moment for everybody.
Richard, what are the success factors for being good online? Is it simplicity?
I was interesting, actually. I was just Nick, and
telling the secret so that we can.
Well, in the early days when we started this, we used to take the orders upstairs, and then we used to go downstairs to the basement and turn the machines on and print them and put them in pigeonholes, which were CD racks that we bought. We used to put the cards in there, and they were all numbered, and I think we had about 100, and we didn't fill those. And our successes in the early days were the Stig's poster, so names the Stig. The success of online is really the presence that you have in the marketplace. And, you know, I struggled in this. I mean, I plumbed the Indigos in on the first factory that we had. We then sold part of it to another business in Bristol. They had litho, so I do understand litho. And it was really hard in the early days, and we put a lot of investment in. We were the first on TV. Before Moonpig, we spent £400,000 in a month. Unknowing to me, and like a right plonker, I had sequential order numbers, and so Moonpig were buying my cards, and they could see how many cards I was selling. And Nick Jenkins then went and raised £7 million and put it all on TV and left us all for dead. So I sold to Smiths back in 2010, and one of the pledges that they gave to me was a huge amount of marketing money that they would spend in the first 2 years to create the brand Funky Pigeon as a known brand. And without that money, we wouldn't be here today. And it's just grown from strength to strength. We still spend 17% of our revenue on marketing.
We all remember your catch line much better than the Moonpig one, though. I mean, who can ever get that out of their mind?
Yeah, thanks.
Funkypigeon.com. It's interesting. We're just trying this year. We're going to do an experiment in Manchester. So we're going on radio, and we're tying the radio up with the TV advert. So there's a little bit in the radio that links to the TV. So when the new advert comes out, it's not finished yet. But you know, I mean, here we are. I didn't expect to go into another lockdown, and if this is anything like the first time round, we stopped advertising because we couldn't cope with the volumes. I mean, we've got a 45,000 square foot factory in Guernsey. And I woke up one morning to be told I could only put 2 people in it. And Guernsey State said it didn't matter what size factory you had, you could have 2 people. And so if you had a garage, single car garage, you could have 2 people in it, and we could have 2 people in this factory. It was nuts, but we had 2 printers start at 6 o'clock in the morning. They printed, went home, and then in came the cutter creasers, and then in came the auto insert operators, and we got going. And then we took a number of external printers on, about 5, and we worked probably round the clock to get the orders to the other printers, but we managed. This time we're more organised because, of course, we have these new externals on. They have their own businesses that will increase at Christmas anyway. So it's going to be another interesting time, but I have no idea where this is going through this Christmas. I just want more people to order in November, because December we're going to be, I needed a new factory 2 years ago and I still haven't got it. I want one in the UK. I want about 20,000 square feet in the UK. That's something we're looking at.
You may get some ideas from people watching. Danny, does online play a part in your business, or is it indirectly so?
It's more indirect, but bizarrely, it's actually the one feeding the other in my case. So if you just go off track a little bit there, if I may, Gareth, following Richard's point, publications, for example, subscription publications absolutely went through the ceiling during the first lockdown in the COVID period, simply because people were bored out of their minds and they wanted entertainment at home and they wanted that tactility and trust and a little bit of a break from television and a computer screen and perhaps even radio too, come to that. So that changed our business. It did really drive volumes in that regard, and of course all of them being personalized to one degree or another, not entirely in full color and digitally. But then of course the other side of our business in direct mail, some of our customers pretty much stopped operating during that period in various sectors, partly in financial services, because it was a difficult time to try and sell a loan, I guess, or anything of that nature. But the ones that really took off were the online businesses, the retail businesses, and they all have to drive activity to their websites. So the retailers were sending out brochure after brochure, and some of it was the kind of strange demographics to some of it. I don't think anyone actually on the panel right now is quite old enough to need some of the products that were being sold by these people, but nonetheless there were clearly a lot of other people at home who did need them. And again, volumes went up just to drive that kind of activity, because, and let's face it, what we found, and this is through talking to customers during this period, is if you had a clicks and bricks business before the first lockdown, you just became a clicks business because the bricks pretty much had to close. Companies that didn't have a clicks business had to get online with that very, very quickly, or they folded, and that's really all that's happened. So strangely for us, it hasn't been online activity that's driven what we do, unless, of course, it could be said that people were subscribing to publications online. Perhaps they were. I've got no idea how those orders came in.
So those personalised subscriptions give you some. Are the publishers picking up on that and are able to target messages at individuals yet, or is that something that you can help them with in the future, given you have now had that technology to do that?
I would say they're working toward, Gareth, at the moment. I think there are a few publishers who would look at Tim, for example. They're kind of in that halfway house. They could look at Tim, they could know what Tim likes and where he goes and how he shops, and they're wanting now to think about, how do they produce mini logs instead of catalogs, so that they're targeting the products that go to Tim. That's an aspiration, and for some of them it's a little bit further over the hill. But for others, you can take Simon, for example. If Simon takes, I don't know, mountain bike monthly, which he probably does, he's a maniac and throws himself down hills on a regular basis, then they probably want to just, advertise to Simon on the front of it if they know he rides, a particular type of bike or he has a particular brand, or they're just pushing the marketing, from the biggest brands out. So if it happens to be Shimano gears, for example, then they're going to buy the advertising space on that wrap and do it that way, because they know it's not some disposable income and where he spends it. So it is pretty much a halfway house. But I think the aspiration's there, Gareth, and I think my experience, purely my own experience, I'm not trying to preach on this, has been many of our customers are saying they would like to get to that individual communication of the mini log, if I may call it that.
So yeah, that's a transition that's happening in your business. Richard, you mentioned that people are buying. I mean, we have the same experience. My wife buys almost 20 cards at a time, all individual cards. She marks out whose birthdays are coming up in the next 6 months, and instead of that panic where I dash down to the shop the day after somebody's birthday to look for the "sorry, I forgot your birthday" card, she's kind of in control. Is that, are you seeing more and more people buying 24 cards at a time, or rather than just individual cards, or is this something that's happening?
No, I mean, what we do get people buying in volume. I mean, I remember back, well, years and years ago, a guy buying 50 cards all for different dates, and he was going to fight in a war somewhere. But generally speaking, we take reminders from people. So the reminders that we hold, we send out by email, and then that reminds people that there's a birthday coming up, so they come in and buy the card. And of course, with mobile phones being people's natural choice to go to a website these days, or the app that we have at Funky Pigeon, it's so much easier to just pick up your phone, order that one card for that one occasion, and we take care of the rest of it. It's just sent. So Christmas is probably the biggest multiple time of year for us. So people buying for, 20, 30, up to 200-300 cards some people buy. We get the odd corporates that buy from us as well, the card that they want to send out.
So the lockdown is going to help you because they can't go to Clinton's and buy.
Our business is, well, two years ahead of where I think it should be, and that's all because of COVID. So I'm one of the lucky ones at the moment. But it, has its challenges. I mean, believe you me, if you look at the stresses on some of the people's faces, they wouldn't be smiling as much as I do sometimes when I look at the numbers. But of course, the thing is, when you're dealing with something like a greeting card, it's an extremely emotive product. So the sentiment that you're carrying to someone when you're sending a card to a loved one, the responsibility is huge. And of course, if it doesn't get there for one reason or another, and we had delays in Royal Mail that normally deliver 93% next day, we're down at 74%, they're still struggling in some areas. And of course, it's our customer. So, we have to do everything we can to make sure that stuff gets there when we say it's going to get there.
Because has this few months accelerated your business plans? I mean, Richard saying he's jumped on 2 years. Have you jumped on anywhere? You seem to have hair still.
No, business-wise is slow. My biggest problem is the fact that no one really is in London. So some of our biggest clients that use our web to print ordering for their stationery and stuff up in London, we do work for a big law firm. They're just not in the office. So from that point of view, we've slowed right down, and our location to the city has been our winner, especially over the years that people have moved out of sort of very central London and moved out a bit. We're still close enough in East London near the Olympic Park to be 20 minutes into town. And at times in lockdown, when we were still delivering in, you're getting into the city in 15 minutes from here because there was nothing on the road. So that location, albeit for a long time, has been our advantage. At the moment, it's our disadvantage because people are not in, not spending, not meeting up. Again, this company would use, maybe they'd get through, I don't know, 6,000 business cards, 100 each time. Maybe 50, 60 people would be ordering business cards a month. Now, no one's ordering business cards. So these things, and they're not doing the same work. They're not going through the binders. They're not going through all the stuff they put together. So for us, my business has sort of stopped. We're still doing stuff. We've still got good clients that are using us, but they're not using. I've not lost any business or not lost any clients, but the amount that they're doing has stopped. A lot of our work was, we've got a life coaching company, the coaching academy that we do a lot of work for. They can't run the events where the people turn up at the weekend to see what course they want to do, and then they sell the binder and we send the binder and that out for them. Those events aren't happening. So what they're doing has dropped down. So it's really tricky times. But the online stuff, you can obviously see it does work, and people have done it. We sat and ordered Funky Pigeon cards for birthday. I insist they use Funky Pigeon, Richard, obviously, at home. But you know, we use it. We've done it. It works, and people were able to get cards and send them out without having to go out. I'm not sure how going out's going to be this time, because I think some of the shops, I know Richard, you were saying about WH Smith's, were still going to be, not all their stores were closing. So I think this time we'll have more opportunity to possibly get out than we did before. Where last time, I think it was before we were online, which you said about the M25 at the start, there was nobody on it. Now I think there will still be people around, but yeah, challenging for my business at the moment. But the positives are we get through it and push on once this changes. Things have to get back to normal in the end, albeit probably another 6 months away before we see work patterns return to normal. But they're never going to return completely to normal, because I don't think big companies are going to have all their staff in offices in the future, which I'm sure you guys at Rico are already experiencing.
So did you do any COVID safety stuff, either posters?
Lots, or actually, for local authority. I learnt more about floor graphics in about 2 weeks than I'd ever learnt in my life. What we could do, what we couldn't do, what R12 was, what R10 was, what stuck well. I've still got graphics all over the floor here that we were testing to make sure, and did a big load for one of the local authorities that we've got, that we're on their preferred suppliers list. So yeah, we were printing up meters and meters, really good actually, and it works well. They were happy. We delivered quickly, which was what they wanted, and the right product. Getting the product was tricky at the beginning, because obviously everybody was doing it. But yeah, COVID stuff's been good. We've done lots of pull-up banners for people to go into offices. So that's been a good thing. I'm hoping that may come round again, because obviously we're still in it, and these stickers last a bit, but they do wear out, especially the outside stuff. It's like clear sandpaper, so all the gritty bit rubs off and they become slippery again. So there could be a whole nother wave of that coming up before Christmas. But yeah, large format we did quite a lot of. We've done signage and stuff for a housing association. So there are opportunities. There. I just need more of them at the moment. But we're trying, I think, is the word.
So it's the agility to be able to do that type of stuff and seize that.
Yeah, it's the mix. It's the mix for us. We've got the Ricos. We've also got large format. We've still got our Lithos. So the balance and the mix for us at the moment is working. Although more and more of our stuff ends up digital at the moment. But then we make boxes and different things. We did a project for Twitter. Through an agency last week. They wanted boxes, they wanted stickers and labels, all done in 3 days, and we did it and delivered. So and that was a combination of digital printing, silk screen, and just literally CAD cutting boxes and wrapping them and making them up. So it was a real combination of all different technologies, but at the end of the day there was a bloke there sticking bits of paper to a box and making them look nice. So it still goes back to, I know lots of stuff are going automated, but there's still that edge of the market that's got that personal touch and that hands-on finishing. And hand finishing in the print trade is still a real skill and an art, and probably forgotten in our talk about everything. It's still that final bit, cutting something is still a big part of it, because if you cut it wrong, then the whole job's wrong.
Yeah. Tim, are you seeing that agility wins online? Obviously, wins agility also.
Well, I think as a result of the impact of COVID from lockdown in March, absolutely the ability to respond and be agile to customer requirements is so much more important now to our industry than it's ever been before. And I think a lot of the things that Nick's just made reference to is consistent with what many other organisations are now having to give additional thought and focus around. And I think, this offers a genuine opportunity for every organisation to reappraise themselves and to understand how they're going to reinvent themselves for the future. And flexibility, agility, being able to meet customers' needs and requirements, not just now, but in the future, is going to be absolutely fundamental to the success of our industry. I think what's also important, again, touching back on the online piece as well, is that we at Ricoh genuinely feel and will continue to invest very heavily in this sector, because we are very excited about the opportunity for the future, and we genuinely still feel that print is still very much alive and will remain a really important part of the overall marketing mix. But the industry and organisations, as you've heard from our panellists, are having to work harder to promote print as being a viable alternative to pure online presence and pure online communication. But where we see and hear and experience where print is used powerfully as part of that marketing mix, I think print will continue to endure. It'll continue to be successful. And whilst the last 9 months and maybe the next 6 months will be tough, we will come out of this, and we'll come out of it stronger, I believe. We'll come out of it fitter, and I think we'll come out of it with a greater belief and understanding of the overall strategy for success for the future after we get out of lockdown.
So we won't be taking print for granted, or customers, that print should no longer be taken for granted, but should be used in a way that enhances value, that achieves something direct, using that tactility, using the handcrafting skills that Nick alluded to, where necessary, because you can't automate everything.
Absolutely, and I think we're all of the same belief, and it's the ability to be able to promote this and inspire the end users that print is the only medium that offers that tactility, offers that ability to be able to interact. It stimulates senses like no other method of communication, and we'll continue to do that in the future. I think it's our ability as an industry, our ability as a partner to the industry and providing solutions to the industry, that will enable us to continue to be successful in the future. Print is unique. It will continue to be unique, irrespective of the technology that's being used. It is still the most powerful medium, and we use this umbrella brand of anything in print because we genuinely feel that it creates a real sense of what print can do and what its potential is for the future as well.
So, Nick, you were talking about people asking about using white and the other colours that are possible now. Is that something that is really going to happen? Is that something that is going to help enhance and increase that impact and that value?
I think so. People love papers, and obviously we've always had colour plan and key colour. People love these papers, but what they want to do is print something on them. They don't just want a paper, and the white on the Ricoh now is fantastic, especially if you're then printing a picture over the top. We did some labels for this Twitter project where it was on clear vinyl. We laid the white down, and then you've got your colour going on top, and it worked perfectly. We had a day to do them, so there wasn't a lot of choices. There, you couldn't have had them silk screened or anything like that. They had to be done like that. So yeah, I love the white option. We had a lovely campaign for another agency that got pulled right at the beginning of lockdown. It was going to go to America, and it was all going to be. It was a great thing, and it was all on colour plan and boxes, and it was all going to be made up, but it never happened. But the white print was the reason why I was in the meeting to get that, because we could deliver. So those things are, for me, just turning the edge. And as much as my 7200 hasn't run as much as I would have liked it to since it's been in, but when it does, it's doing the value added that I bought it for ultimately, which is the colours. We don't use the neon colours as much, but the white really does work for us. And I've got another customer, Weatherby's Bank, and they've got silver foil and white on grey colour plan. So there's not many other ways to do it, and it prints really well. So yeah, I like these extra things that the machines offer. The extra colours really do help, as well as long sheet as well. Calendar I'm going to be doing for this local artist, Impo Life. She wants it as a long hanging A4, so that's perfect. It can be done on the long sheet. We'll staple it and it will be sorted. But without the long sheet on, well, both of my machines have got the long sheet, the 91 and the 72. we couldn't do that calendar. So it's those extra little bits at the moment that can just help and win you a project and give you another job that all helps to that monthly total that we're all after at the moment.
Can you cope with that type of stuff, Richard, or is yours about changing the artwork but keeping the product pretty standard underneath?
Yeah, we've tended to steer away from whites and metallics and that, just simply because dealing with it in the volume that we do makes it very difficult. So actually it's a longer process, and when you're against the clock, because the postman comes at a particular time every day, and we do try and get everything out the same day that we take the order, I've tended to steer away from it. I love the idea of being able to print in different colors. I love the idea of being able to laser cut stuff. But every time I look at it and cost it, I go, this is just going to cost me money rather than make money. But I think in the future, maybe it's something that we will look at, because obviously we need to look at niche parts of the market as well. So at the moment, we're looking for the masses. But once we've mastered that, well, we'll never master it, because once you master it, there's only one way back down the hill. But you know, we will be looking at other things. And talking about important things, Simon, you've got a cup of tea waiting for you by your mirror. So we're all jealous because we haven't got a cup of tea waiting for us by the mirror. But you must go and get it, because it'd be getting cold. Good man. Good man. And a biscuit. God, dear, oh dear, spoil.
But you mentioned earlier on, Richard, that you're planning or finalising a marketing campaign using radio and television to drive print. I thought it's always, is that something you see as important, that you're using other channels, competing channels, perhaps to? Does that make you a traitor to the industry?
No, not really, Gareth. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, a lot of people that you talk to are selling things to businesses. And of course, when you go and sell something to a business, then you generally get a bigger order. I'm looking for the individual to buy a greeting card for about £3 from me. Okay, I want them to buy lots more than one, but I'm looking for the masses. I mean, I can't really give you the details of Funky, but you know, if I look at my major competitor, they spent £1.4 million on TV and radio in 1 month, and that wasn't a peak month, and they're doing that month in, month out. And so it's huge money, but we're trying to build a brand for retail. And if you look at people like Heinz and other people that you see in the shops, they spend billions on marketing because they've got to get to the masses. Whereas B2B, you need to find a good number of good loyal clients that want to spend lots of money with you.
Danny, how do you find new customers, particularly at this time? You've got new capabilities that you need to sell, but you can't go and meet customers. How does it work? Are you just selling it to existing customers, or what's the? Presumably you're not going on radio or television for the reasons that Richard just outlined. So how do you get them there?
I must say, yeah, we tend to write to them. I'm not quite so treacherous as Richard, as you mentioned, Gareth. But no.
Good.
Part of it is cross-sell and upsell to existing customers, obviously, and part of it is new customers, and finding them it's a bit of an old-fashioned way, really. You know, we go to the fishing holes that you'd expect us to do. You know, where is the market industry knowledge? I'm not going to start reeling them off for any of the competitors that are listening. I'm sure they all know where they are. But we look to where the intelligence is in the market as well. You know, so for example, things like JIC mail at the moment from Royal Mail, which is giving us a lot of intelligence around how mail is being used. So we tend to using that as a marketing platform and as marketing content, you know, so we kind of know who to go to with these things as well. So it has to be more traditional. We like to get to the brands if we can, rather than trade through third parties. I think everyone does from that viewpoint, because you can be more influential in the way that they use the technology then. And for us, it is all about the technology. You know, we are creating markets in our product sets. So it is important to get to the brands if we can and get them convinced of the value in doing that stuff.
But
Which, as Richard said, is a bit different to trying to, sell a £3 card to an individual. You are trying to change hearts and minds within businesses too.
But is it something that you can still knock on doors and do face-to-face presentations at the moment, or are you using more Zoom or this type of technology to make at least some of those meetings happen in virtual?
Yeah, we're making very, very few, or we have made very, very few personal meetings since March or 1st of April. In fact, when I joined the business, there have been a couple, but the few and far between. We are using the technology, whether it's Zoom or Teams or this type of a platform. I think we are all zoomed out. I think we're all. I mean, this is all very nice, and it's great that all of the attendees have attended today. But I think we'd all much rather going forward get together once or twice a year, be in a room, maybe get one of Simon's biscuits or something like that, and just be able to share a handshake. We end up parting company with people by kind of going like this, and it all feels like a bit of a natural act, doesn't it? So unfortunately, sales is quite difficult when you're only meeting people virtually, especially if you look like me on camera. So it all has its challenges, doesn't it, Gareth?
Simon, are there some questions coming in from the audience out there?
Really good questions, and I'll pick some out. That some of them naturally go together, so there's a couple on web to print, and I think Nick mentioned responding with digital, and there's a question from Joe about how can they respond to clients buying online, and what can I do if I can't afford a massive capital investment. And there's another one from Claire on web to print software. So given where we are, I think I've asked Richard about web to print and going online, and the investments you made, with your first forays into online, if I may.
Yeah, I mean, we spent, building the whole system in the first place did cost millions of pounds. And like anything, when you think that you've got an idea, you think everybody's going to want it. And actually, when I looked at the greeting card market, I was convinced that millions of people would buy from us. And that wasn't the case. And so, having invested all this money in the early days, we tried everything. I mean, I suppose PPC wasn't quite as sophisticated, social wasn't as good in those days, back in mid to late 2000. TV was something that we went into, once we spent 400,000 quid in a month. Again, I didn't do it at a peak. That was a mistake. I had to create the advert, so that cost a lot of money also. And so, people say to me, I'd like to get into this market. It does cost a huge amount of money to build a brand. And I have I had my eyes open when we sold to Smith back in 2010, the amount of money that we needed to build a brand. And actually, the name's terribly important. I mean, I think we were lucky with the name Funky Pigeon, which actually came about here in my house. My wife came up with it. We were all drinking wine, having a laugh, and she came up with it because of Dick Dastardly and the pigeon. So actually, she came up with Speedy Pigeon first, and then Speedy Pigeon was gone. It was a courier company in the States, but I think the name was very important. And actually, I think the name played a big part in why Smiths wanted to buy it in the first place. And because, like Simon said, the jingle's really catchy. I think that's really important. So getting that jingle right, getting that earworm, as people say. And I mean, when we do surveys out in the street, a lot of people that we talk about, and we say, look, do you know about online card companies? And they do, and they say Funky Pigeon. If I go to trade shows and I go Funky Pigeon, I would say half of the people that I say it to sing the jingle back at me as soon as I say I'm from Funky Pigeon, which is amazing. And so it's been a good journey, but it's a pretty expensive route. I don't know without millions and millions of pounds how I would do this again. I really don't, because it's a brand.
That's interesting. You built a brand and you want one end of the marketplace. Now, I guess my concern with the answer is for Claire and for Joe, who are looking at this, and maybe is that they may be looking just as a simple web to print for placing orders rather than a mass market. So it'd be a smaller amount of orders and just manage them through through a system. So, Tim, what's your view on how to start with the web to print?
Well, when I started my digital journey, it was with Indigo back in 1995. And I joined at Drupa 1995, and my boss at the time, Benny Lander, made a fairly profound statement that resonates today. He said, everything that can become digital will become digital, and print is no exception. So I think we can extend that and say that anything that can go online will go online, and print is no exception. Now, at the one end of the scale, we have organisations like Richard's organisation who've invested millions over the years to get to where they're at in terms of brand profile and presence. But when you consider our industry as a whole, there is still probably the majority of companies that don't have an online presence. So there are now there is a wide choice of opportunities to enable customers to go online, to start to get an online presence, and to start to be able to transact online with very, very small levels of investment to begin with that can scale up. I know that Nick has invested very heavily in relative terms for his business as well, and has benefited from that. But there are, in answer to the question, Simon, there are a very broad variety of opportunities and systems that at relatively low cost for startup will help those organisations that don't have an online presence to get that online presence. And I would like to add that Rico is at the forefront of that, and we've got some great solutions as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll return to Nick. So what is it, and explain what you did, Nick, and your journey with web to print.
We started quite a while ago with a client that came to us, a housing association that wanted to put their leaflets, flyers and bits, and this probably goes back at least 10 years, I would think, and it was with Red Tie that then did its course, which wasn't a massive investment at the time for Red Tie. It worked quite well for us. We then were asked by the same housing association, they wanted to be able to do more, and we looked at the different platforms. And again, I'm going back probably 5-6 years, and we jumped for Infigo software, Catfish as it is, and we jumped for that, invested in that, and really kept it B2B for far too long, really. And it's only now been sort of locked down. The site had sort of been there. I was sort of a bit obsessed with getting everything on it, but now we've come to the conclusion, let's just get something on it. And with a few niche things that hopefully we're going to put on there, as it is, it's all about, which is why Richard's doing TV advertising, it's all about driving people to the site. So if this artist, this calendar that we're doing, if that drives her Instagram followers, 22,000 Instagram followers, if a few hundred of them visit the site, then that will be worth it potentially and drives people to it. So it's a good thing to do. Reason why we've been able to do it is because the guys that I've got here have always built our sites. So we've been able to do sites for clients that might have been a lost leader, build them a bit of a site. They think actually that works quite well, and then they'll use it. Where if you were paying to have them developed every time, it would cost a fortune. I don't know what it would have cost to have built the site we did for BCLP, the law firm. It took us months. We're setting cards in Chinese, and we're distributing to Abu Dhabi and Hong Kong and all this sort of stuff. But it works really well for them. It took us a long time to build it, but it does work. But at the moment, there's nobody in their offices and they're not ordering very much. So we've channeled our time into making a few niche things on our weprintdirect.com, which already I need to go home and have a glass of wine and think of a new name for that, Richard, quite obviously. Key. But yeah, it's an offering, and it's good, and let's hope that we get a few orders this Christmas and it works. I'll report back in the new year. But there are ways of doing it, and going back, you don't have to spend thousands of pounds and invest in software. You can do it. You can nearly buy them on a click basis, can't you, Tim? Now they what you want, and then it scales up. So the more you do, the more you learn, the more you can do yourself or get your team to do. Then that's where at the moment you save your money, because I'm sure lots of companies have got people who aren't maybe doing as much as they haven't got as much to do as they would normally.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Yeah, and what's interesting, I think, with the comments is you talk about web to print, and we also talk about awareness and advertising, and how almost one requires the other. So with anything in print, and we talked about the amount of money that has been spent on advertising to generate the print, and that advertising can be in in other formats, in radio, in online, and on the TV. And we've also seen it the other way around, where people use print to drive people online for the services. They'll send the letter out to drive people online, and we've got that reality now, and it's really understanding what the end customer's purpose really is and where they derive benefit. So, Danny, I know you do a lot of work with the Royal Mail and other people in the business of delivering post. What's your view on that relationship between online, between advertising and between print, and how should we as printers really leverage the opportunities that are outside of that, printed piece to improve the value of the printed piece?
I think they're not mutually exclusive, are they? I don't think any of us, whether we are large corporations like Ricoh or small entities, printers like Nick and myself, we don't want to appear as Luddites to our customers either. So we do recognise that all these other channels exist, and it's right and it's meet and right that we do, and that we can talk to those facts as well. But they can't exist the one without the other. The simple fact is, the reason we've done well with our direct mail offering during the COVID period, as I mentioned earlier, it's because people wanted to drive activity to their website. That's on the one hand. Now, I guess the question then is, does that activity on the website drive the higher use of print? And I think it actually does, because the more companies that are out there that have websites, I don't even know what the number is now. There's something like 1.4 billion websites globally now. I mean, how do you cut through all the noise? And we can all talk about search engine optimization, et cetera, et cetera. But what I'm saying is that actually having a website, you need to advertise that fact and drive someone to it. When someone starts interacting with that website, you then need to serve that customer. And you mentioned Royal Mail there, Simon. You did right. They're becoming much more of a parcels business than a letters business these days. There are less letters going out, but that tends to be in those services that we all expected it would be the case. So transaction mail, for example, it is a burning raft, isn't it? And that's disappearing. But as e-commerce grows, then so does the requirement to be able to speak to the individual as well. Yeah. I don't know if that really answers the question, Simon, but that's my feeling.
Well,
I thought, even as something as mundane as the takeaway menu, if we're going to see all the restaurants go down and switch off their tables, close their tables, they need to drive volume into their takeaway business. The guys that provide the software for online ordering are swamped. They cannot onboard these restaurants as fast as the restaurants would like. They are just swamped. They cannot do it. They need to use print to drive ordinary customers through leaflets, through the doors, to get people to use their online services. It's as very, very simple and very, very clean as that. Phone us up. Here's our online seat. Even if they haven't got an online ordering thing going on, they need to be able to take the phone calls. Yeah. They need to tell people that they're still open for that kind of business.
And also it's more because Uber Eats are taking a cut, and I think it's a good way to, just conscious of time coming up to the hour to end, and it's clear that we've all got to innovate, and we all have to look at the marketplace as it is. We have to use what's available to us online and with print and get the right message to the right people at the right time, and digitization is going to play a huge part in that, with the way we submit, the way that we advertise, and the way that we produce to add value to the organisations we're serving, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a huge organisation in retail, or whether it's directly to a consumer. We've got to focus on what we're doing for their businesses, and as we innovate, we've got to look at the investments and the longer term opportunities to create print organisations that will stand out from the competition. And that competition might now be Google, or it might be the TV or radio companies, but it's got to provide differentiation, and we've got to really drive value for our clients' core businesses, whatever that may be. And at Rico, as with your businesses, we're here to help do that, tackle anything in print now and in the future. And we've got to really look at driving and influencing, the next normal. So to wrap up, we're currently working on our next series of webcasts, podcasts, and webinars that will continue to focus on providing with more practical insights, how to elevate your organisations where you guys want to be in the future. I'd love to thank my panelists today. I thought it was a great format. I think the next one we'll be doing will be with VPress. So please stay tuned with Rico, follow us on social media, or simply speak to one of our account managers to register interest in the seminars. But many thanks, and wishing all you and your families the best in these challenging times, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Thanks very much.